The Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist, whether you're running, swimming, or sleeping. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. The Apple Watch Series 10, available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generations, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
Welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it.
Rams Nation, welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network here on today's edition of our post-game reaction. I'm Ian. That's Mark. Welcome back, everyone. Like, subscribe, and share this video and podcast with all your fellow Rams fans and football fans out there. We very much appreciate it. But Mark, how you doing tonight, dude?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, that was a fun game, and I found myself probably much like Sean McVay going into that game thinking, yeah, whatever. But once things got rolling, it got pretty intense, and you could tell he wanted to win badly, and so did I. But I think, the end result maybe isn't so bad for our Rams. Maybe not.
No, maybe not. And I agree. That was a fun game. And Rams Nation, for anyone tuning in, the Rams did lose to the Seahawks 25-30 in this Week 18 matchup, where all the important offensive players for the Los Angeles Rams did not play. No Matthew Stafford, no Kyron Williams, no Cooper Kupp, no Nakua, no Dotson, no Havenstein, no Alaric Jackson, no Bo Limmer. So other than Steve Avila and Tyler Higbee and the tight end group, everyone played on defense for the most part in one capacity or another. And it was a fun game. It very much was, and I'm happy to see that, we totally didn't wet the bed with a lot of backups playing and getting some snaps there for sure. But, it's unfortunate. It would have been cool to win and feel good about them, about the team and the young core that's out there to feel good. Like, hey, man, we got 11 wins. We're the third spot going to play Washington, who won early in the day. We would have, that would have been already set in stone. But I think it's important we go through some quick stats here about that game and talk about how things unfolded. So we'll start quarter by quarter, right? Seahawks jump out early. We're all like, we only scored 3 points. We're like, okay, we're hanging in there. Then the second quarter really started to blow up, and we're like, oh, all right, Garoppolo. All right, young receivers going off. Okay, Ronnie Rivers and co. running the football. And then Higbee had some nice stuff too. And then we're going to halftime at that point thinking, all right, we're still alive, right, Mark?
Yeah, there was a moment, I think it was 14-3, and I thought, well, maybe this is going to get away from us, but we bounced back, and some folks were banging on Jimmy G on social media, and I was really surprised. I said, he had some really good stats, and a lot of it may have been padded by a lot of little short passes in the flat, but that's what the Seahawks are giving us apparently, and he executed it really well. I thought he had a really good game considering he hasn't played in maybe 14 months in an NFL game, something like that. So I made it real interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously the second half unfolded. We scored a little bit more, but we came up short on the last potential game-winning drive, which was disappointing to see. I thought we would pull it off. So, all right, Rams Nation, let's go through some of these stats. Time of possession. Well, the Rams held the ball a little bit longer than the Seahawks. That's pretty good with a bunch of backups in, technically, right? More first downs, more total yards, 403 total yards. When's the last time we've seen that from a Rams offense? Crazy. Jimmy Garoppolo, over 300 yards passing, 334. Wow. Rushing could have been better, but the passing game was working with the short stuff, and then Garoppolo hitting the intermediate every now and then. I appreciated that. Yards per rush, Seahawks got us on that. Unfortunate. We had 4, not too bad. Turnovers, we had the one that sucked. But, sacks, we got a couple at least on Geno Smith. And, Seahawks got their 3 against a lot of backups other than Steve Avila up front. So, take that with a grain of salt, Rams Nation. But the overall stats, Joshua Cardi, 58 and 57-yard field goals. And let's stop right there real quick, Rams Nation. Joshua Cardi, according to Rams PR, who always has good, fun stats for us to digest, passed Frank Corral with 118 for the most points scored by a rookie kicker in franchise history. Wow. Gosh, Cardi had some really crappy moments early, but he's really turning around. He's going to be a key factor into why we win any playoff game next week and beyond, right, Mark?
Yeah, and go off on a little tangent here. I had a conversation with some fantasy football gurus before the season started, and I proposed the idea of drafting Cardi, and they talked me out of it, talked me off the ledge. And maybe, especially in playoff time, he really started to get on a roll. And it's amazing, when you think about some of the things we were saying about him. I think all 3 of us on the roundtable at one time or another have suggested maybe we need to find a new kicker, and I don't think any of us feel that way anymore. So yeah, he's settling in now.
Yeah, he's really turning around. I think this is a big deal, Rams Nation, for him to feel good going into this playoff tournament, no matter who the opponents will be or will not be. I think it's good to have your kicker hitting long field goals, feeling good, looking smooth, and hitting them really with ease. Let's be honest. It didn't look like he was struggling. I mean, he felt good. He's celebrating with the squad. He's really starting to, ingratiate himself fully, I feel, as a Rams difference maker, which is good. You want your kicker to feel that way. So, these pressure moments that'll be coming up, you'll feel good about hitting these big kicks. So shout out to Cardi, man. Like I say every week, it feels like, Rams Nation, Mark. These young Rams just keep breaking records in some way or another. It's fantastic. So shout out to Cardi. Shout out to Cardi. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just piles on to that great draft class that we talked about the great draft class, a month ago. We probably weren't including him, but we're including him now.
Oh, he's in that thing now for sure. Rookies of the year. No doubt about it. As a draft class, I think the Rams have that lock in key. Let's go back to some of these other good stuff that we saw. Jordan Whittington, 98 yards from scrimmage. And what that is, Rams Nation, that's catching and running on offense. That's not total yards, which would include the 80 yards on kick returns. So, he's almost at 200 yards total with kick returning and then an offensive yardage. He had a fantastic day. And I'm going to say this, and I put this out there into the universe today. And so people were like, what the hell are you talking about? And we can get into this when we start our preparation for the wild card matchup next week. I'm going to say it here again, though, Rams Nation. And feel free to, combat me on this if you like, if you have any good counterpoints. But I believe Jordan Whittington and Tutu Atwell, and I'll even throw Tyler Johnson to some degree, deserve equal or more snaps than Cooper Kupp, this current version of Cooper Kupp, for this offense to really hit all cylinders. I truly believe that. And I'll be short and sweet. The separation and the explosiveness is not with Cooper Kupp right now. I watch film every week. I watch, we do these orchestrated Ram segments where we do the top 5 plays. So I watch every play and I choose what I think are the top plays. In the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, I mean, Cooper Kupp, something is up with him. Either father time has caught up to him, which is 50-50, or he's injured. It's one of the two. I don't even think it's a debate that something is going on. So with that said, and what I saw from this young receiving crew, Tutu, Jay Witt, Tyler Johnson, they deserve equal and or more snaps in Cooper Kupp going forward based on what they did today, what I've seen them do when Kupp was out, and what I've seen from Kupp the last handful of weeks where something is wrong. So I leave that to you, Mark. I know that was a lot, but what are your thoughts on that real quick?
Well, it kind of aligns with something I heard on one of the YouTube channels, the NFL YouTube channels, and they were talking about the Rams. They were talking about their playoff prospects. And one of the guys made a comment, and I couldn't really disagree with it. He said that on offense, they're just not real fast. We have receivers that can block, and Kyron, who's got the great, jump cut, but we don't have a lot of speed. And I'll tell you this, Jordan Whittington looks really fast to me. And he looks,
dude.
He adds some electricity when he's out there. And we'll talk about the Blake Corum injury a little bit more
Yeah.
later. But, Jordan Whittington used to be a running back, and I'm not proposing that he's going to play running back for the Rams, but he could really pick up some slack as far as, jet sweeps,
Ex-
screen passes,
100%.
extensions of the run game, and hopefully, the Vikings defensive coordinator isn't listening to this, but I think that may be coming at them next week.
Yeah.
A little bit more Jordan Whittington.
Yeah, for sure. And I need to see him. I need to see more Tutu, and I need to see Tyler Johnson get in the mix. And I know I said over Cooper Cup, but even over Demarcus Robinson too. I would include both of them. I think they need more snaps or equal snaps to Demarcus and especially Cooper Cup, because I think something is totally wrong with Cup. And I hope that he has one good last playoff performance push in him. I hope we get one more good run of Cup. We've been on record, Rams Nation, here once he got hurt early in the year, that this would likely be the last year as a Ram, unless there was some drastic pay cut that he took, which is very unlikely for a player getting paid a lot. They're not going to just suddenly take a big pay cut like that. And could Cup be that guy? Sure, but we'll see. We'll see. But what I saw today, I'm very pleased with Tutu and Jordan. And I know Tutu's got to catch the football, but they're getting open and they look explosive. And that's something we've been missing for a long time this whole season. And with that, who's throwing them the damn football? Shout out to Jimmy Garoppolo one more time with 334 passing yards. And I think on that note about the entire offense, Mark, and this is another point where I think it gets very interesting with the offense outside of the wide receiver explosiveness and route and separation from corners that I liked. I really enjoyed Mike LaFleur's play calling today. I really, really liked it, Mark.
Yeah, I was actually surprised because our run game coordinator gets the play calling, and we went heavy pass right from the
Yeah.
get go. And maybe it was what the Seahawks were giving us, and there was a lot of creative hand play by the quarterback. Play action, jet sweep, fake jet sweep, screen to the man in motion, and it worked over and over and over again. And a lot of it was Jordan Whittington, I think, and Ronnie Rivers a little bit. Yeah, it was very creative.
Yeah, Rams Nation. We've been on this podcast, and I've been a big proponent of how basic the play calling has been. Maybe the design of it is fun, right? Like the intricacies of the route combinations and giving Nakua and Cup a lot of choice routes where they get to decide which variation of this comeback or in or whatever route it's going to be based on what they see running it. I know it gets very nuanced in that respect, but we got to think of it this way, though, Rams Nation. And it's something I've been very upset about the entire year. We haven't seen any running back screens. We saw some today. We haven't seen any tight end screens for years. We saw a bunch today. We barely see any reverses or wide receiver run plays. We saw a decent amount today. We saw some other variations of some power run plays, which I like today. And we saw, the attacking of intermediate and short and all that stuff. But all those screens, all those variations of the screens to tight ends to running backs, the different variation of the play action to the play action fake, run fake, and then throw a screen to receiver. You saw the reverses, you saw the end arounds to the wide receivers. That's what we've been asking for months from this Rams offense, and how it would help their lack of point scoring and lack of explosiveness. And we saw it today with a bunch of backups putting up 400 total yards against the starters of the Seahawks, who were a borderline playoff team. Now, I hope Sean McVay can learn from the buddy Mike and say, you know what, Mike, I liked what you did there with all our backups. We can definitely do this with the starting crew, and obviously sprinkle in a ton of Whittington and Tutu and Tyler Johnson, which I'm calling for. But it's very encouraging. And gosh, if we see a stinker on offense in terms of play calling diversity next week against the Vikings, I'm going to be pissed based on what I saw from the OC with backups against a starting playoff level team of the Seattle Seahawks. So I say all that to say, Rams Nation, it was encouraging, and we hope this trend continues with McVay and the starting unit back in the fold in the next playoff game. Right, Mark?
Yeah, yeah, and a part of that is I had forgotten how good Tyler Higbee is with the ball in his hands and a
Yeah.
head of steam. He's like a locomotive, a runaway train. It's going to pick up 5 to 8 yards after contact every time. We saw that a couple of times, so that's a a nice re-addition to the offense.
Yeah, get him on some tight end screens and let the big boys lead the way and let him bulldoze right behind him. Got to figure a way to do it. And speaking of people catching passes and doing some good things, Ronnie Rivers back in the fold after Blake Corum had to leave the game, and we'll get to that shortly. Hey, he was our backup last year, produced. He had to fill in a lot more than he probably was anticipating, and he produced as well, catching the pass, looked shifty, and we know Ronnie Rivers could play, right, Mark?
Yeah, we've seen it in the past, and he's just been biding his time, fresh pair of legs. And he reminds me a little bit. I don't know if this is a good comparison. It kind of reminds me of Malcolm Brown a little bit. He's consistent, reliable. He's going to pick up. He's not going to lose yardage. He's going to move forward. Get 2-3 yards at least every carry, and sometimes wiggled for an extra few. He's a nice solid backup, I think.
Yeah, and we'll need him going forward. And another big deal, which is, Jackson Smith and Jigba, the second-year man from Ohio State for the Seattle Seahawks, wide receiver. In that first matchup, Rams Nation, where we won in overtime, I mean, dude was just wide open, or dude was just smoking us that entire game. And we only held him to 4 yards and 1 catch this game.
That's
good progress.
and that was the trick play.
Yeah,
lateral.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was, and he didn't get much. And I know DK Metcalf had some good moments against us, and Noah Fan and some other unknown players got us. But
Barner,
at least we got them to beat us, and not one of their top pass catchers who smoked us back in Seattle not that long ago.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Get me Will Trent, ABC Tuesday.
I don't even know where he is.
Will Trent is back.
You thought you could hide forever? Time to come home.
The series that's being called one of the best network procedurals.
We're going to solve this case.
Featuring new cast member Gina Rodriguez.
I'm a prosecutor. We deal in truth and facts.
Maybe everybody should try that, huh?
Will Trent, the 2-part season premiere, begins Tuesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
And before we get to some of this other stuff, Rams Nation, here on the screen, real quick about the defense. A lot of starters played meaningful minutes in this game. There were some not good moments. Akello and the secondary had some really bad moments throughout the game with, McCullough played, Kitchens played, Kobe Durant played, Akello played. Who else? I mean, a majority of the secondary that we rely on played.
I think Quentin Lake was out there a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, a majority of people, Hoyt, Kobe, Byron, Braden, they all had moments out there and Spates played a ton. Roseman was out there, and it wasn't like the full assortment of plays that they would all be used to, or what we'd be used to seeing. But there were some not so great moments. Is it because that it is a meaningless game to them, right? Oh, we have our ticket punched into the playoffs already. Oh, I know I'm not going to be fully in the game, so you're just not totally invested both mentally and physically as one, right, to give it your all. I mean, let's be honest, not to say they're not trying, but is that a factor? Or is it that, we got shredded today, which is not a great sign going into the tournament. But again, a lot of backups did play, but the moments that the starters went in, they gave up touchdowns. Kobe Durant gave up a fade, back shoulder fade to a backup player, right? Akello and the secondary had a coverage bust where DK was pretty open. Noah Fant was pretty open with starters in the back end covering the end zone there in the secondary. So there's some moments where it's like, oh, there's only backups. No. A lot of these touchdowns are starting reliable players were in giving up touchdowns. So something to, not just sway away Rams Nation with the defense, but they did enough to win this game technically. But I was hoping to see a little bit better play from them while they were in and not give up touchdowns, but hey, it is what it is, and we move forward. But we will not be moving forward with running back Blake Corum, who snapped his forearm early in the game there. What a freaking bummer. And on top of that, Hunter Long, who we rely upon in the blocking game at tight end and those 12 personnel packages, which, he and Davis Allen are in a ton together. He hurt his knee. We have no status on that. I'm sure we'll find out in the next couple of days from Sean McVay leading up into the wild card matchup. But gosh dang it, Rams Nation. Dang it, Mark. Every week 18, there's someone important going down from us, man.
Yeah, I had talked about Blake Corum shouldn't play. I wanted to see Ronnie Rivers and Cody Schrader, and a lot of people kind of talked me back off of that and said, Cody Schrader is not going to play. He may see the field. And they were right. Blake Corum did play. Blake Corum was getting the carries early in the game. And, the fact that we lost Blake Corum and lost the game makes it even worse.
Yeah.
I think the only reason he's playing is because, you think you feel like you have a shot to win this game. Let's go out and win this football game. Otherwise, Kyron Williams is the guy, but, Blake Corum was the insurance, and we don't have that insurance anymore. I don't think Ronnie Rivers is the insurance if something happens to Kyron Williams. Ronnie Rivers can spell Kyron, a series here and there and be productive. Cody Schrader, a total unknown. And we're probably going to have to sign a running back off the street, I would suspect. We don't have any running backs on the practice squad. I don't know what we're going to do there, who's available, who's in, game ready shape that might be able to come and help this. The Rams have done it in the past. Go find retired veterans that can come in and help. But they may have to going into the playoffs with these three running backs. Doesn't give me a warm fuzzy.
No, not at all. And look, Ronnie Rivers was the main backup, and he produced and was a good backup. But the Rams are like, we got to upgrade at that spot, which is why they drafted Blake to be able to, ease the load off Kyron, which ended up didn't happening. By the way, that was the original plan for Blake, but. It's a loss, man. It's a big loss because, when Blake gets the ball, he makes crap happen. Now, has there been a lot of holding penalties and dumb stuff that has negated his long runs and plays this season when he's gotten opportunities? Yes. But this is a big loss, Rams Nation, and no bueno, man, for especially a running back in Kyron who's been getting the ball a ton. There's going to be moments where it's like we need him to take a moment to catch his breath and then go back out there and play 99% of the snaps. So, brutal.
Yeah, it's not something, we can overcome that loss. It's not
for sure.
Yeah, but it is a bummer. It just, leaves a sour taste in your mouth after a game like this, after you lose a guy like Blake Corum, who, type of guy has a potential to blow up during the playoffs and have a big game. And we'll just have to wait till next year to see him again, I guess.
Bummer. Sean McVay did say today at Rams Nation that he will miss the entire playoff run, and that arm will not be ready for any Super Bowl February championship game. He's done, and that's shitty. And we hope Hunter Long will be okay, and hopefully that knee, there's nothing too serious. And another quick little bad, obviously Charbonnet and others averaged 5.3 yards per carry. Not great, but it is what it is.
There's probably some individual players that played poorly, but I wasn't ready to call that out yet.
Yeah, for sure. And what a bummer. What a bummer on that.
I thought our offensive line, given what it was composed of, it was not bad, right?
No, they held up. That's what I'm saying. The offensive line, the play calling, everything was fantastic for a backup unit. And we hope to see some of those skilled guys get opportunities with.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Dylan McMahon playing center, but I was happy he was playing center.
Yeah,
but I was surprised. Yeah,
it was good to see. But Rams Nation again. Rams lose 25-30 against the Seattle Seahawks. Whatever, Seahawks get their 10-win season. Whip-de-do. All right, we'll see you in Cancun. Great for them. Great for Ernest Jones, who was apparently wearing a shirt that was kind of like. You didn't believe in me. Why'd you give up on me? Something along those lines. I don't remember. It's unfortunate that he got traded away. I didn't agree with the move. Obviously, there was some other stuff outside of the knee issue that was going on. But sayonara, Seahawks. We're going to the tournament, and you are not. But with that said, Rams Nation, after tonight's finish of Lions and Vikings on Sunday Night Football, with the Vikings offense is absolutely just wetting the bed, it is official. Rams versus Vikings. Monday Night Football, January 13th at 5 p.m. at the Rams house. Wow. Another primetime game for this Rams and Vikings matchup, as we did face each other on Thursday Night Football way back when everyone thought Cooper Kupp was getting traded, when Nakua suddenly was activated and had 100-plus receiving yards. Stafford and the offense were fantastic. And, we held Jefferson and Addison and the Vikings offense in check for the most part, which was a shocking turn of events in that game when everyone was not feeling good about the Rams at that point in the year. But here they are coming back to the Rams house, Mark.
Yeah, the Rams and Vikings have a history of putting on a show, so this should be fun. But, we talked about who we wanted to see in the wild card round, and it was more or less almost a consensus. Everyone wanted the Lions. I would have been happy to face the Commanders. The Vikings, based on what I saw tonight against the Lions, we may be catching them at a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, that offense and Sam Darnold, they weren't protecting him, couldn't get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Their defense played well until the end there when the Lions finally just overwhelmed them. But not to say that the Vikings aren't. They won 14 games not by accident, right? So they're a good football team. But you have to. I like our chances more against the Vikings now than I did 4 hours ago. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just speaking of just repeated history here, everyone remembers the famous 2018 matchup, Goff and Kirk Cousins battling it out in the Coliseum on Thursday Night Football in that 2018 season when the Rams eventually went to the Super Bowl. I was at that game. Great game. Then they had that other Thursday game. But speaking of just history, Regal Sports had this fun little stat. So week 7, the Vikings lost to the Lions in Minnesota. Then week 8, the Vikings came here to Los Angeles on Thursday Night Football and lost to the Los Angeles Rams. Then week 18 today, Vikings lose to the Lions. And next week, the Vikings will play the Rams in LA for a second time this season with the winner go home on the line. Well, the only Vikings losses this year are 2 to the Lions, 1 to the Rams. And can we give them another one? Well, we're going to have our best shot, Rams Nation, and we're going to have to give it our all. But history says, I guess it may be more likely than not that history repeats itself here. But what a fascinating stat here, though, Rams Nation. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, if you're into trends, there's a trend for you. And another trend is McVay has never lost to the Vikings, 3-0. Overall, the Vikings have an edge in the series, but not recently. But yeah, that's really interesting how this has played out. And it's a trend. Yeah, we want to see it continue for sure.
I do, Rock, as you say that, I think we've lost one time just off my memory. It might be 3-1.
Yeah, I'm looking at, oh yeah, you know what? You might be right. Okay, so I got it in front of me here. 2017 regular season, we lost 24-7.
Yeah, because I remember Case Keenum was their quarterback, right? That's what I remember.
Right, and then the next 3 we won. So I'm sorry, so check that. McVay's 3-1 against the Vikings. He's won the last 3 though in 2018, 2021, and earlier this year.
Yeah, all big games too. So that's good. That's definitely good for sure. And damn, Rams Nation, we'll see what the hell happens. But you know what else is ironic? Speaking of trends, shout out to Arash here. Markazi always having some good LA sports stats for us on his reporting side of things. So the last time the Los Angeles Rams won the Super Bowl, they won 5 straight going into the last game of the year, the regular season finale. They lost that finale to a division rival in LA at SoFi Stadium. That happened again today. All those things. They still won the NFC West. That still happened today. And they were the 4 seed, which is what also happened today again. They hosted a team they played earlier and won. Well, we're hosting a team we played earlier and won. And it also happens that it is again on Monday Night Football, just like it was in that 21 season where it was Rams Cardinals round 1 on Monday Night Football. History repeating itself there. And then eventually, we all know, Rams celebrated the Lombardi in that 21 campaign. But Mark, speaking of trends, all these things are lining up yet again right? And
Right.
especially the Monday Night Football for round 1 of the playoffs.
Yeah, the only other trend we need is to travel to Tampa Bay and beat them at some point. I don't know if that's even possible, but that's factored into a lot of our Super Bowl runs as well. But yeah, I saw this too, and I was like, oh, okay. I used to not be a big believer in trends, but they seem to continue. So hopefully this one continues.
Yeah, a lot of repeated history, Rams Nation. It's man, that's pretty crazy for sure. And speaking of things that we see and things that might irritate us, and something that irritated me and a lot of Rams Nation earlier. So, Lions beat the Vikings. We know that. And during the handshake of the good game part of when a head coach meets the other head coach, middle of the field, good game, shake hands, or whatever quick little thing they want to say to each other. Uh, Lions head coach Dan Campbell shook Kevin O'Connell's hand and says, "I'll see you in 2 weeks." Well, well, well. What do you think that means, Rams Nation? What do you think that means, Mark? That they expect them to beat us in round 1 and face them in round 2? Is it that simple, Rams Nation? Is it that? Am I being too pissy about this little comment here, Mark? Tell me I'm wrong or right.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it. Dan Campbell could be just trying to comfort Kevin O'Connell in that moment, a coach for a divisional rival, and say, "Hey, man, if you could translate it into other terms, another tone. Hey, buddy, you guys are going to be okay. We're going to play you again in 2 weeks, anyways." I don't think that was meant as a jab at the Rams, but the Rams can accept it as a jab at them and use it as motivation, perhaps. And, hey, even if the Vikings beat the Rams, it doesn't mean they're playing the Lions, right? So,
Yeah. Well, we'll see what the hell happens for sure. And that pissed me off. I'm just gonna be honest. And with this Lions Rams, rivalry that's been building up over time the last couple of years, it's getting pretty serious. And we'll talk about some other comments a certain player from the Lions made next week. Just says, "Yeah, I'm tired of these Lions, and I want to face them very badly. Too bad they couldn't lose today. I wanted that matchup." But regardless, Quinn Lake says, "Rams fans, we need everyone to show up next week at SoFi." And our captain, Quinn Lake, tweeted that out or posted that on X earlier after we, wrapped up things at SoFi Stadium. And I agree, Rams Nation. The game is Monday night. I know a ton of you work. I know it is not as easy as a Saturday night game or a Sunday game of any time. And I understand those Monday nights going to be a pain in the ass. But do what you can, Rams Nation. If you can get off work early, if you can call off, if you can request off, if you can just do whatever you need to do to get down there and give this team a legit home field advantage for this playoff game. I will see you there. If any of you end up going, I will definitely be there. I need playoff football in my veins in person. And Vikings fans will turn out, as they had a decent crowd for that Thursday game I was at earlier this season. And they've had decent crowds that travel from not just in California, Los Angeles area. They have tons of fans that'll fly in. I talked to many Vikings fans from not just the Minneapolis, Minnesota region of the north side of America there. There's people traveling from many different states that I had small conversations with at SoFi Stadium on Thursday Night Football. So you think they're not going to come out to see a playoff game, especially with no more home games for the Vikings, potentially? They'll be out there. So we need you out there, Rams Nation. And Quinn Lake agrees with that sentiment for sure. Right, Mark?
Well, as I always like to do, I went to the weather, and it's 8 degrees in Minneapolis right now, in Minnesota. Yeah. So, yeah, there may be a few Viking fans booking their trips right now.
I assume so, too.
Yeah, Ram fans got to turn out, and I'm sure they will. I think one thing Ram fans know is there's something about the Rams Vikings for many years now, going back to the late 60s and 70s. Quite a rivalry they've had. They've crushed us, crushed our dreams in the playoffs back in the 70s a couple of times, and it's time to return the favor here.
Yeah, got to return that favor, Rams Nation. And there's some other important matchups. Since our game will be the official last game of the first round of playoffs, and the whole football world we'll be watching that game to see what the hell happens. I think it's important to go through what is officially in play. So it'll be the number 7 seed Packers traveling to Philadelphia to play the number 2 seeded Philadelphia Eagles. That should be a big time matchup, and that has a lot of importance of how things will shape up in our bracket, the National Football bracket of this playoff tournament. Then you have Buccaneers at Commanders, which if we would have won today, it would be us in Washington instead of Buccaneers and Commanders. But that should be a fun game as they played each other earlier in the year as well, just like that Eagles-Packers. A lot of rematches here, Mark. It's very interesting to see how these second-time rounds go. So depending on how that goes, that'll really shape how, our game going forward will be if we are to play good enough to advance. Because, I mean, Mark, there's multiple scenarios where the Rams host a second playoff game in the divisional round, right?
Yeah, I think the Packers could beat the Eagles. Jalen Hurts' health is a little bit in question, although the Packers look like they've lost Christian Watson. But they've got, I've mentioned a few times the Packers don't have a true number one, but they got a really good wide receiver group, and even without Christian Watson. But that's still a big hit. And both of those 2 games were rematches. The Eagles were the host of that game in Brazil. The Buccaneers beat the Commanders in Tampa Bay, and the Rams beat the Vikings in LA, and all 3 of those teams are home teams again. So we can only hope. But you're right. If this plays out right, the Rams, it's very real possibility the Rams could have 2 home games here, because I think those first 2 games, so we got the Eagles a 3.5-point favorite, the Bucs a 3-point favorite. I could see, to me, they're almost both coin flip games.
Yeah, I mean, here we are in do or die scenarios where I agree, coin flips are really the way to go. You just don't know how things are going to shape up in these, these high leverage, stressful games for the players and coaching staffs. But we hope our team will be on the winning side. But we'll know, Rams Nation, if we win, will we host a playoff game or will we have to travel? We'll know by Sunday night. The full day before our game, we'll know the stakes of our matchup significantly, and hopefully the players, if they do end up knowing those things, well, I'm sure some will, they'll be able to handle that weight, good or bad. And Rams Nation, again, we need you out there. Rams hosting the Minnesota Vikings, Monday Night Football, January 13th, 5 p.m. Do whatever you can to get out there, support your Rams, give this team a real home field advantage. And you being out there, you cheering, you screaming, whose house, Rams house, all that stuff, it does play a major positive factor in wins and losses. I don't even think that's debatable. And I think most football players, whether it be Pop Warner, high school, college, professionals, I think they'd all agree that that's the case. So, man, Rams clinched the 4th spot and will host number 5 Minnesota. But any thoughts before we get out of here, Mark?
No, just want to make sure everybody's aware. We'll come back with a roundtable later this week, Wednesday night most likely, and we're not going to talk too much about this Rams-Seattle game. We're going to dive right into this wild card game, and maybe talk about the other games too. And we'll have a lot of content over the rest of the week, over the weekend, because we got all weekend to talk football leading up to Monday night. So we'll have a lot of bandwidth, I think. And I like the Rams' chances, and if they win this game and have to go on the road, I like their chances on the road. They've been a good road team. One thing the Rams have an advantage over other road teams. They have more experience dealing with crowd noise than just about anybody, because they have to deal with it at home a lot.
I know.
And they're going to be okay. I think it's too early to say, but I'm sure I'll end up picking the Rams to beat the Vikings. They certainly have what it takes. It's just going to be a matter of dealing with Mr. Justin Jefferson. Got to make sure he doesn't go off on us. That's probably going to be the key to this game, how much damage he can do, because he's going to be, after this poor performance against the Lions, he's going to be on a mission, and we got to be ready for it. But hey, the biggest takeaway from this, one of the most amazing things from this season, this regular season, the Rams winning the division. And I thought the 49ers would win 7 games on accident, and they finished 6-11. To me, that's just incredible how this year just collapsed on them. I know we're not here to talk about the 49ers, but I was looking at those standings, and it's just like, if no one would have predicted that, anything close to that, how south the season has gone on them. But enough of the 49ers. Rams, Vikings, we'll talk a lot about that Wednesday night. There's going to be a lot to go over. Maybe we'll talk about that first matchup, kind of review what happened in that game, what went right, what went wrong, and get into it.
Yes, sir. And screw it for fun. 49ers at the basement, Cardinals, Seahawks, and then your NFC West champions, Los Angeles Rams. Soak it in, Rams Nation. We're hosting a playoff game. Let's see you out there soon. This is it here and our post-game reaction on the Rams Up Podcast Network. Again, like, subscribe, share this video with all your fellow Rams fans and football fans. Gosh, we very much appreciate all the support you guys have given us this far this season end beforehand and in the future, I'm sure, as well. But that'll do it here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. And gosh, we'll see you guys soon. Go Rams, baby.
Okay. Thanks, man. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.